Welcome to part 73 of Woe to America, Woe to the Nations, and Woe to Babylon. August the 30th of 2024. Sorry, I'm still chuckling over the fact I told you not to knock their teeth. I just smack them a little and give them a little bit of willow teeth. Honey, I actually told somebody yesterday at work I was going to get me a limb. They just straight out made me angry. And I said, I'm about to go out here and cut me a limb off one of these trees. The one man turned around and said, "Oh Lord, she's getting a limb. She's gonna get a limb." That's what he told the other guy. He said she about to get a. Well, the other guy had said Jesus' name in vain. I don't like it. Don't holler Jesus Christ at everything. He is not a cuss word. His name is not a cuss word. You stop disrespecting my Lord. And I mean it. Or I will cut me a limb. And I tell you what, I cut two like Granny Virgin. And I'll braid them together and wet them in the creek. I'll wet them some way. I don't care. Maybe it won't be the creek because maybe I can't get down to it. But I'll wet them anyway and I'll sure wear you out. You best quit this foolishness. Now, I've had enough of this. Y'all quit taking the name of the Lord in vain. That is very offensive to me. That's offensive to him. You are not going to be held guiltless. Now, y'all stop treating God like he's garbage. You do not invoke his name unless you are actually in need of him. But I told him that yesterday at work. I said, you stop that. Right now, I'm going to go cut me a limb. And the one guy heard it, and the one man heard it, and he started laughing. He said, oh, God, she's going to go get a limb, a switch. I said, I certainly am. Listen, me, I bring the whole tree. I'm like my mama. I'm a firm believer in using the limb. But let me tell you, that's what this nation's lacking. Where's Mr. Fuji with his cane when you need him? He whipped them boys over in Singapore with that cane for a spray painting stuff they ought not have been a spray painting. Now, let me tell you, one of the commandments of the Lord is not to take his name in vain. And yet y'all doing it. Stop hollering, well, Jesus, to everything. His name is not a cuss word. It's not there for you to use that as an exclamation because you're disturbed or perturbed or whatever. That is the name above every name. It should be honored and glorified. He died for you, and you are belittling his name. So I pray that any and everybody that is doing this, that God allows a shame to set upon you, a dread every time you do that, henceforth, till you are broke from doing these types of things. Because it's wrong to do that. You should think before you speak. Jesus did. He drawed in the sand. Anyways, We need to be obedient to the Lord. Not to self, who is a beast, because we are the creation, not the creator. We're nobody. We're just little filthy rags that he saw fit to die for. Anyways, let's get on back into this video so I can cover a little of it before I gotta go. I got some errands to run.
Jesus says, quote, "For out of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaks." So just to be clear, even though we can hear people's words externally.
Yes. From the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. And I've been doing a lot of that this morning in these videos. My heart is for Jesus. And the abundance of my heart is Jesus. I meditate on him and try to most of my days. I'm not broken. There's nothing wrong with me because I prefer to meditate on the Lord than this world. I'm not broken. I am his. You are not broken if you choose the Lord instead of the world. Don't let the world make you feel like you're broken because you want to focus on the Lord more than you do on the world. That's not brokenness. That's being of the Lord. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyways, let's get on back into this.
And that does to some extent reveal their heart, we do not have full access to what God can see about their heart. And in that sense, Greg is absolutely correct. Here's an example of these principles that we're working with in action. Suppose you have an atheist person who says that they do not believe in Jesus and they hate the Christian God to their very core. Now, from that person's words, you can see that they have a heart which is clearly not saved. But suppose, on the other hand, that you have a professing Christian friend in your life who often says things about his faith that are concerning or even completely inaccurate or unbiblical. Yet at the same time, they claim to be a Christian and to believe in Jesus, and they seem to understand the basics of the faith. This situation is a bit harder, but it's still not totally impossible. Let's take a look at what Trump has said in the past about his faith. Here's a clip from...
Before we go on into this, I want to address what he just said. He's talking about how the one man seemed to be Christian and he understood the basics of it. Well, so did the rich man that talked to Jesus. He said, "What could I do to be saved?" And Jesus told him to keep the commandments. And he said, "All this I have done since I was a child." But there was still something that he didn't want to do, which is the same thing that a lot of people today don't want to do. You don't want to give up the things that you have to help others. That's what the Lord taught him. Sell that which that you have and give it to the poor. But he didn't want to do that. He liked his belongings and he didn't want to part with them. How about that? He liked his belongings and he didn't want to part with them. That's a shame. We can know people's hearts by their actions. And we can see the things that God sees if we want to. if we're open to that, He will show us what He sees if we ask Him to and truly want to see what He sees in people. We're afraid to ask Him to let us see people as He does. It certainly isn't how we see them. Because we view people based on what they can do for us most of the time. And how they can help us or how they better our lives. Or we don't just view people, and we certainly don't love people just to be loving them with no strings attached. Most people today does not love people unless that person can do something for them in some way. There's no unconditional love in the world today. Just loving people, just to be loving them. Without restraint, without condition, without any purpose or explanation as to why you love that person. You just love them. It's hard to love people that way, especially when they make you mad. Trust me, I know that one. Because there are people that make me really angry. It doesn't change how I feel. I still love them. I may want to put knots on their head, but I still love them. I don't put the knots on their head, though. I just pray for the Lord to do it. He's bigger than me. He can make bigger lumps. But you know what? I pray for myself, too. For getting angry at them. Because I'm like, Lord, why did I do that? Because not only do I try to understand them, I try to understand myself, too. We have to. We don't want there to be some kind of underlying cause in our lives. We don't want to be listening to devils and getting angry for nothing. But so many people do these days. And they get offended so very easily. And, yeah. And so many of y'all want to believe that people are Christians. And it's not just Trump that you need to apply stuff to as you listen to this video. You need to be looking for the fruits in everybody that you're calling a Christian. The fruits of the Spirit. But you got to understand the fruits of the Spirit. Just because somebody is coarse and harsh like Paul doesn't mean that they're not humble and that they're not meek and that they're not gentle. Sometimes we are required to be like sandpaper in order to sand the knots off of the wood. You can't build a sanctuary for the Lord without sanding the boards out smooth. You don't want knotty temples full of knot holes for the Lord. You want to smooth out that wood. Now, I'm going to go and I will pick this up as soon as I can from this part. And we'll get back into this and we'll try to finish out this video. Because I definitely want to get back into the book of Isaiah before much longer. I want to just get back into the word itself. I've took a lot of hits lately on my channels. Copyrights. And now a community. I've got two things spinning against me at YouTube right now. One's a copyright strike, and the other is a community thing saying I went against community guidelines. Please pray for me that the Lord move these issues because I didn't do either one wrong. See you in the next part.